Hello and welcome to Female Voices, Life and Loss. And I am your host, Teresa Reiniger. And today's conversation is one that speaks to a kind of grief we don't often name, and so many quietly carry it. I'm honored to introduce my guest, Lisa Webb. Lisa brings a deeply personal perspective on loss, one that began before she could even form memories, losing both of her parents at just 1 year old. Her experience of grief isn't rooted in remembering moments, but in something far more subtle and often hard to really articulate. Her connection to her parents has been shaped through photographs, stories, and imagination, creating a relationship built on fragments, hard word sometimes to say, fragments, curiosity, and what she calls the unknown of the unknown. In this conversation, we're going to gently explore what it means to grieve not just who someone was, but what never had a chance to be. The absence of memories, the longing of connection, and how that kind of loss can quietly shape identity, relationships, and the way we move through life. So, Lisa, I'm so grateful you're here to give voice to something many people feel and don't always have words for. So, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I was honored whenever you reached out and said, "Hey, what are your thoughts?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know how many people out there may struggle with that type of grief because I don't think maybe people really think of this as grief, but it's surely
Mhm.
there, and it's one that just keeps recurring and it just never goes away.
Yeah,
And so thank you
yeah.
for having me.
And I'm glad that you're sharing this because I would imagine many people that know you don't know that
True.
you lost your parents so early. Um, and kind of that whole story about all of that. So before we dive, I guess, deep into some of that conversation, when you think really about your parents, what comes up today for you?
Well, first thought when I think about parents, of course, is my grandparents who actually
Sure.
adopted us. So we were lucky enough that when my biological parents passed away, I had a set of grandparents that jumped right in and said they will not go into any system, and they raised their family, but they jumped in and adopted us. And so we were raised by our grandparents, who, of course, were mom and dad. So that's how we grew up. So
Yeah.
parents, when you think nowadays, my mom and dad was my grandparents. But if
Hmm.
anybody says, who do you think about with your parents? My biological parents, their names were Butch and Felicity. And from what we were told is my brother is a spitting image of my biological dad, and I am the spitting
Mm.
image of my biological mom. So you have that constant wondering what things would have been like if they would have been here, what your life would have
Sure.
turned out right. Like, so it's just a constant wonder, whenever people say, "What about your parents?" And then it's like, well, I know my mom, she raised us and did a wonderful job. But to say, did my biological mom, get to see you grow up, get to see you be a cheerleader, play sports, see
Mm.
your get married? No, she did not. So you get to miss that. When my biological parents passed away, it was on December 21st. So
Mm.
right before
Mm.
Christmas, before a major holiday. So every Christmas then that you were reliving that. My grandma was reliving that because that was
Sure.
her son and her daughter-in-law. So she was reliving that. So that's sort of
Yeah.
where when people say your parents, it was, well, I have great parents, but then I also have these parents.
Yeah. So you share with me about siblings. Were they older? Are you the youngest? Just with what you said, like those siblings, and knowing what I know as a grief specialist, like right before the holidays, I'm sure things shifted for many, many years because of the grief
Mhm.
that your parents that raised you, experienced. but even your siblings, were they older? Is that correct than you?
Yeah, so I have one brother who he was born just barely a year older than me. So
Hmm.
he was
He was
born
little.
in 67 and I was born in 68. So we were
Hmm.
like real close together. So he's a
Hmm.
biological brother. And then I have an older sister and an older brother who technically would have been aunt and uncle, but since we were adopted, then they became brother and sister, but they're
Sure.
considerably older. So growing
Okay.
up, we were not close, because they were grown and had their own families.
Hmm.
My sister and I are close now, because we helped take care of my mom when she was older and ailing with
Hmm.
dementia and stuff. And so we're really close now. But growing up, yes, I have one older brother. I was the baby, but he's only a year older than me. So he's not that much older. And then we had the older brother and older sister, who are considerably older. And so then, yeah, so then you had with this happening in December 21st, every year with the holidays, it was very hard. And of course, I was so young. It
Yeah.
wasn't spoke about back then. You figure this is back 60s, 70s, and you just didn't speak about those things back then.
Hmm.
And it was very hard on mom during the holidays, and you just didn't talk about it. And then every year it would come up, and it's like, oh, today's December 20th, and it's a hard day. And I know my dad ended up having health issues, and he passed away. I was 13, 14 years old whenever he passed away,
Hmm.
and I think part of that probably had to do with some of the stress with having
Sure.
lost his son as well. But it was just you have to do work as hard as you can to raise this second family, and so
Yeah.
then that left a weight on my mom now with these two younger kids, and so it was
Mhm.
just hard. And you had all of that grief that you had to carry more so on mom. But then growing up, it was like you don't understand it then. I
Sure.
understand it now. And of course, mom's not here now to go,
Yeah.
I get it, mom, so,
Yeah.
but it's just that grief that carries with you. And if you, it's just the statement that I came up with, the unknown of the unknown, that
Yeah.
fits so perfect because you don't know. You just don't know. And that weighs on you.
So with that, the known where unknown is, when does that feel louder or more present for you? The not knowing, the unknown part of that. Is it just
Um,
during the holidays, or are there other times that it's like, "Oh, I wish I
I
would have."
think that's a good question because I would say probably that comes out stronger when you're really having a bad day and
Mhm.
you really just wish you could talk to somebody. If you have a lot weighing on your shoulders and
Mhm.
you wish you had somebody that you could just sit down and talk to, a mom, you wish you had a
Yeah.
mom that you could just talk to. And it's like, oh, I wish they would have known what all took place during our life so you could
Mhm.
just say, "Do you remember when?" Like I do with my kids. And you don't
Mhm.
have that. So you can't go back and
Mm.
reminisce and go, "Do you remember when you sat at the table and had those conversations with mom?" When you're having those funny moments and you try to go back and remember those funny moments with mom, like I remember with my kids, and then you're like, "Oh, I don't have those funny moments because there isn't that because you never got to
Yeah.
have them. And so I
Yeah.
think those things come up stronger when they're show that they're not present. And it could be a catch 22. But I think it's just as life goes along on an even kelter and things are going okay, it doesn't pop up as much. But if you have that joy of excitement that comes up and you're like, oh, I wanna share that, and you're like, "Oh, no, wait." Or if it's like, oh, you're
Mm.
just having a day, and you're like, "Oh, no, I can't do that." And
Yeah.
you can't you just that's where those things sorta hit with anybody with grief, but more so if you
Yeah.
just don't have those memories to come back.
Yeah, I could only really imagine those memories that how often those surface that, gosh, I wish I would have had a memory of
Mhm.
this or a memory of my biological mom doing this. Like you said at the beginning, the cheerleading and some of the other things like, grandkids and Grover, your husband, and just all of those things that you never got to experience with them
Yeah. Yeah, and
actually present here.
my mom, by my grandma, my mom, and she was awesome, and she attended
Yeah.
everything,
Of course
and
she
she
was awesome.
and
Of
she
course
was
she was
there.
awesome.
And, she and I love her dearly for that, but if people just don't understand that it's just not the same to where you
Yeah.
still have that in the back of your mind going, "Wonder what mom would have thought. I don't have that memory. Wonder what she would have thought or wish she would have been able to see that because she was a cheerleader. I seen old
Oh.
yearbooks
Mm.
and stuff, and she went to Warden High School and stuff, and so she was a cheerleader and she did
Mhm.
things and, so it's just those memories that you're like, "Oh, I wonder
Mhm.
what she would have thought," and see her sitting in the stands or
Mhm.
watching you get married or seeing grandkids.
Mhm.
So it's just those type of things that
Sure,
surface.
sure. So with that, maybe adding on to that, what kind of questions have lived in you like over and over through the years that you've never had answers to that you wondered
And
about?
it's sort of interesting because there's been a few people that have reached out that actually knew my parents, like,
Mhm.
that went to school with them,
Mhm.
and, "Oh, I knew your mom and dad," or, "I knew this," or, "I knew that," and, they hung out with them, or they went on dates or things like that, but my parents, when they passed away, they were young themselves, so
Sure.
they did not get to truly live their lives. So and I don't remember exactly how old they were, but Felicity ended up expecting very young with my brother. And then they got married. And then I came along. So they were like 20-ish when they passed
Sure.
away. So they
Mhm.
didn't really get to experience life. So really the only memories that people can share was school memories and maybe some
Yeah.
early memories. But the questions that people would always say, answers would be like, "Oh, we hung out with them in school, or we went on some dates, and they were,
Mhm.
the nicest people and things like that," which is great.
Yeah.
I know that they were in the process of remodeling a house and things like that. They were working towards, a family home and things like that, but there's just so much unknown in life for them that didn't get to happen because it
Yeah.
happened so young that
Yeah.
there's just a
Yeah.
lot of uncertainty there.
Sure. Do you think any of that with losing them when you were so young that shaped kind of your sense of identity?
Yeah, oh yeah, most definitely. I think there has been so much with things that have happened. I don't it's a hard question to answer. I can be very stubborn.
Mm.
Um,
Okay.
it's just I try to be very compassionate and very caring and understanding, but then I can
Mhm.
also be very stubborn because I just think there's a lot of things in life that happen that people don't know what goes on behind those closed doors.
Sure.
And I live that.
Yeah.
And so I try not to be too quick to
Mhm.
judge because you don't know, again, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And some of these things that have happened and have formed me to where I am today, it's like I think a little bit before I act. I try to, and sometimes I fall into those bad habits and I have to reel myself back and go, okay, you need to think about that. But I do really think that some of the things that have happened in the past, especially with this and the tragedies that happen have formed where I am today. And I mean, we all have different tragedies
Sure.
that happen. and you have to deal with the cards that you're dealt,
Mhm.
take it for what it is, and figure out how you're going to live with it. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's not easy.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely not easy. And you're right. Everything that we've experienced in our life really forms who we are. And then we choose, is this the way I want to be, or do I want to work towards something else? Because we can change as tragedies happen, things happen. And sometimes they guide us, not in your situation, but they guide us in a certain direction, and then it's up to us if we want to go that direction or if we want to fight to change that direction. Because there's
Mhm.
many people that tragedies happen, and I'm going to use just my own terminology, nothing that you said, what I said. They put themselves almost in what I will call, in air quotes, victim mentality. This happened to me. So almost like I have a right to be like this because of all of these tragedies that have happened.
Mhm.
And yes, we understand that things are rough, things happen like that, and we can choose whether we want to stay in that, I'll say again, air quotes, victim mentality, or if we want to rise above that. Because
Mhm.
staying there is not the most beneficial for anyone to stay in that. And do we all drop into that at some point? Like you said earlier, when situations happen and things like that, it's like, oh, I call it my pity party. Like, who
Mhm.
wants to join me in my little pity party for a bit? And we
Absolutely.
all and we all have them.
Yeah.
It's just determining how quickly we leave the party,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
to start.
absolutely. I mean, I could have gone down several different paths, several different times in my life
Mhm.
for several different avenues, for several different reasons,
Sure.
and did those pity parties and been very
Mhm.
justifiable going, I have every right to do this, but you have
Yeah.
to take a path and make the best out of it. And I think things happen to where are you going to let that road take you
Mm.
and I ran across somebody a while back that not too long ago, actually, over Easter, we were talking about adoption. And she was like, I was adopted. And then I'm like, well, you know what? I was adopted too. And she's like, I didn't know that. And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
here's how, here's my story. And she's like,
Mm.
I'll be darned. So you take something tragic and turn it into something positive. That's your story. So.
It's definitely your story, and it's made you who you are. And I think, you kind of talked about this a little bit. I think when we go through tragedies and traumas and things like that, and especially with grief, our perspective and how we look at other things with people is we really do, I believe, and I think you do the same, is we really look to give other people grace, I will say. Like, okay, we don't really know what's happened maybe in their life in the past, nor do we know what happened earlier today or yesterday. And so, okay, let's just, let's how we're going to react to that, and we're in total control of that. And I think when you have those significant traumas and grief, so we go two ways. We'll give them more grace, or we just won't put up with it. Is like,
Mhm.
okay, if you only knew what kind of I've battled or what I went through, like that broken nail, I'll use that broken fingernail, really, like, let's not even go there. Like, that's
Yeah.
nothing compared to what could happen, sort of thing. But we
Mhm.
all run across those people, and we all need compassion sometimes.
Mhm.
Broken
Yeah.
fingernails hurt sometimes when they're really deep, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But then at some point, then you have to go, you know what?
That's nothing.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
I have to sometimes put myself first. And it's taken me 57 years to go, okay, I
Mm.
need to really remember that I have to put myself first. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
hard to do.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that I work with people that are grieving, is setting up boundaries to protect their well-being, to protect
Mhm.
their nervous system, to protect them, and to keep them too out of fight or flight, is those boundaries that really do need to be set up to really support them in a better way. There's no doubt. So good for you learning that.
Well, you've
Probably
helped.
took a bit, but you got it. Yeah.
It's a
Well, it is a process and we're all in it. We're all learning. There's no doubt about that. So you kind of mentioned that this kind of grief probably isn't always present front and center because you were so young and you were adopted right away. But how does it is there something, is there a way that it shows up for you throughout the year?
Mhm.
Probably at the holidays. Is it
Mhm.
only when things are rough, difficult that it shows up? Or does it even really show what I will call show up for you much anymore?
No, so it still shows up at the holiday just because
Okay.
that's instilled in
Yeah.
us I mean, that was just what we're accustomed to.
Yeah.
So my brother's daughter, her middle name is after my mom. So
Oh,
that remembrance is always there, which
hmm,
is great. That's
yeah.
always a great thing. But it's just it's always there.
Hmm.
Um, stuff that we have in our home. I have pictures, and
Nice.
so the remembrance is always there. I have the same pictures, of course, because you don't have pictures. So it's the
Yeah.
same picture that we have, but it's just one of those things that it's a constant conversation.
Good.
It's in the back of the mind. It's always there. The memory is always there. They are buried at the cemetery there in Livingston. So whenever I
Okay.
go that way, I do try and zoom in and stop in. So, it's there. So the memory and the remembrance is always there. So it does
Good.
come up. It's something that I hope always stays there. I really don't want it to be pushed down and forgotten about. I don't
Uh-huh.
mind that it's there. More so, and this may or may not sound the best, but it's more so mom than dad, just because it's mom. Especially it's
Good.
Mother's Day and all the talk about of course dad will come up more in June because of dad, but
Hmm.
it's Mother's Day. You always think about moms more, and so it's something that's always there. Yeah, holidays of course comes around more, and you
Sure.
think about that more. So it's there.
Yeah. Well, I think what's important really for the listeners too is that even though there's not a lot of memories, and I will say you have memories subconsciously, we can't always surface them from that really early age, but they are there. And,
Right.
but that it is good for the listeners to know that even though there was very, very few memories, that you still recognize that, you still feel that even after all of these years later, that I think sometimes people are like, well, I'm going to forget them. I'm going to forget that person. Like with me working with moms that have still births and
Mhm.
pregnancy loss is I don't want they don't want to ever forget those children. And for
Right.
you, you never want to forget your biological mom. And it really is up to us to keep their memory alive, even
Mhm.
though and in both of those, like you with a year and them with a very short period of time as a pregnancy, there are memories there that can be kept alive. And I love
Mhm.
that you are doing that and that it sounds like you're almost keeping that memory alive for your children, your grandchildren, and most recently, your great grandchild,
Yeah.
that memory is still there, that they know that it's not
Mhm.
something that we don't talk about, it's pushed under the rug and never happened, that you carry that on so that they truly know
Yeah. And
their
I think it's
grandparents.
important for people to know that it's okay. I mean, it's
Yeah.
okay to have those memories and keep thinking about those
Yeah.
people. It's okay to try and keep those alive, because
Hmm.
I think even though it hurts, I think it'll hurt worse if one day you go, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I think that would hurt worse than, and I know, like with my grandpa, my dad, who passed away whenever I was 13. Those memories are really far down
Sure.
embedded, and so those are fading now as I get older. And sometimes that hurts worse
Mm,
because, he was there more so than my biological parents who I'm like, I was one. I
yeah.
was one.
Yeah.
So what do you expect? So you want to
Yeah.
try and it's okay. Keep those memories. Try and keep
Hmm.
those alive. Share those with your kids and your grandkids, and I
Yeah.
know my kids, like my daughters Amanda and Kristen and Zachary, they always ask questions. They want to
Yeah.
know who's Butch, who's Felicity, and what were they all about, and they always would ask questions and try and understand. So, and that's okay. That's okay. I don't mind
Yeah.
talking about it. And when they passed away, it was such a tragic death, and Livingston is so small that everybody knew them, and the funeral was at the high school. And so everybody knew. And even to this day, people would be like, I remember your parents. And that was so tragic. And that was such a horrible, horrible thing. And so people
Hmm.
still remember. And that's hard. I think sometimes that hurts worse. So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah. So with that said, and you talking about, did you call him Pops, your dad? What did you call him?
Do
Your
what?
your grandfather. What was the name you called him? Pops?
No, just dad.
Just dad.
Oh,
Dad.
grandpa.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Dad.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. I was like, what did you call him?
No.
Dad. And so I think it is important that, yeah, it's been a while ago. You were very young, but that's probably, glad that your kids ask questions
Mm-hmm.
of your biological parents, but they probably, I would guess, ask about him as well, even though that
Mm-hmm.
was quite a long time ago. But I think what I share with people is bring out those pictures every once in a while so that those memories don't get buried so deep. And then because when they're buried deep and we don't think about them, that heartache comes from that because we don't
Yeah.
have those memories front of mind. So it's super important to make sure that there's time, in our busy lives to
Yeah.
bring out a picture to help bring back a memory so that they stay in front of us. It's really important to do that.
Yeah.
And so because you said that, I'll encourage you to get some pictures out, let those memories resurface because they're there. They're
Yeah.
just pushed down a little bit. And so
Yeah.
bring out those pictures and let those memories come back up a little bit more so that they're not so heavy, and that feeling of forgetting because we don't want to forget. We want to remember them. There's no doubt about that. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's why some people get so frustrated nowadays with social media and people taking pictures with their cameras and their phones and stuff because back in the day, back in the 60s and stuff like that, those pictures are becoming gone.
Yeah.
I have very few pictures of my biological parents left
Yeah.
because they could
Yeah.
only last for so long. And
Yeah.
so it's okay to take those pictures. And I encourage people to try and print some and save some, but get them on a disc or do something. But
Yeah.
because pictures are worth 1,000 memories. And
Yeah.
those memories are going to be gone if you don't share them. And so get those memories because they'll be gone if you don't share them. And then you don't have nothing left.
You're absolutely right. Those pictures help trigger those memories to come back. So it is super important. And I agree, print them out. Ever so
Hmm.
often I print out a bunch. And I still have my girls' high school, senior high school pictures hanging. I love their children looking at them and said, "Look at
Yeah.
my mom."
Yeah.
But those are all memories. I mean, there's memories for me for taking them to get their senior pictures. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
not sure
My
they
mom
were happy memories, but they were memories.
Yeah, my mom has photo album upon photo album upon photo album of
Mhm.
pictures, and my sister and I are like, oh my gosh, all these photo albums. And now I'm like, I don't have
Mm,
hardly anything. And it's like, now I'm like, oh, I wish I would have been more like mom with more photos. Cause it's like everything is digital, and it's like, oh,
yeah.
now I know. That's so, oh well.
Yeah. Yeah, well, all those pictures on your phone or wherever. Yeah, I just came across like 3 cameras that I have, and they have the little whatever they're called, little disc in them or whatever, and I'm like, "Gosh, I wonder if there's anything on these." So it's like, I need to spend some time
Yeah.
before I get
Yeah.
rid of the old cameras, if I get rid of them, to see if there's any pictures on these little
Yeah.
drives that are in there. But yeah, that's crazy. So yeah, print pictures. If nothing else comes from this, print pictures. Make
Yeah.
sure that we talk about those memories, that we don't get that feeling of forgetting, that we continue to resurface those memories to help support us, that we don't feel bad. So if I'm going to bring this back to you. So if someone's listening, and they've experienced something similar, the kind of loss
Hmm.
so early where there's no memories or very little memories that they really didn't have. What would you want them to know? Summarize all that. We've talked about pieces. I'm going to let you
Hmm.
bring all of that together and share with the listeners. What would you want them to know?
I would think that if at all possible, if they can reach out to the people that knew, the people that their loved ones knew, reach out
Hmm.
to them, listen to the stories, because those stories are memories that they can put inside of their head, and hear
Cool.
some of those happy stories that they can hold on to. Because I heard some really neat stories, so that would be something to do, and give them some fun memories to hold on to. But then also I think it's good to look at those pictures if they have them, and just keep looking at those pictures. Talk to whatever space you want to talk to. If you want to talk to the sky, if you want to talk out loud, talk to the picture. It's okay. It's okay to talk
Hmm.
to whatever space you want to talk to, and just talk out loud.
Yeah. Yeah. I would
I do
take
that
your
a
time.
lot.
It's
I talk
okay.
out loud a lot. So it's okay. It's okay to talk out loud because they're listening. They are. And but it's okay to do that. And just keep holding on to those memories, whatever you have. Do not let them get embedded. And just keep cherishing those.
Yeah.
And share those memories with whomever. If you have kids, if you have grandkids, if you have a partner, just keep
Mm,
talking about them, because
mhm,
that's what's going to keep them in your mind and keeping
mhm,
them, fresh. I think that's probably to bring that full circle. And it's okay to do that.
mm.
It's okay to
Yeah,
cry, but it's
it is
even
okay.
57 years later, it's okay.
Yeah, and it is okay. You're right. It is okay. Even though there was very few memories, there's still a lot of love and grief there. That's
Hmm.
still after 57 years. So, and I would just say to those that may have memories to share with someone that has experienced the loss of a loved one. Many times we don't want to talk to them about a loss that they've experienced because we think that it's going to make them sad. And what I'm hearing, especially with you today, is no, share those memories. If you have memories of someone that that person's unaware of,
Hmm.
please share that memory with them because it does support them so much in other things that they may not know, like you talked about.
Right.
That's super important to share those memories. Don't keep those inside, share those with their loved ones. It's a way of
Absolutely.
them honoring and you honoring them by keeping that memory alive. And their
Absolutely.
life was they were here, so honor all of that. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And I think they'll find out that there's other people out there that had great memories of them and with them as
Yeah,
well. And that would make that person walk away with some fun and good memories as well,
sure,
to bring
sure.
joy, not sadness. So those are neat things to walk away with.
Yeah.
So
And they could cry. There could be sadness because they're hearing the story, but you're
yeah,
right. The joy comes with that as well,
yeah,
for now having
absolutely.
that memory. So there's sadness because they don't remember it. They didn't know about it, but then it shifts with that
Yeah.
joy and sadness together. So I'm glad that you said that. That's exactly what happened. So it's super important to share those memories, especially when life has been so short for some people. So
Right.
Lisa, I really do want to thank you for being honest and your willingness to speak to something that so many feel and don't always know how to express it. Our conversation really is such a reminder that grief
Hmm.
isn't only about what was, it's also about what wasn't. The
Yeah.
moments that never happened, the memories that were never formed, and the questions that we don't have answers to. And yet, even in the unknown, there is still connection. There is still love. There is still a story, one that continues to unfold through us, with us. So, anyone listening who resonated with Lisa's experience, if you've ever felt the ache of something's missing that you can't quite name, you're not alone. Your grief is valid, even if it doesn't fit into a clear or familiar shape. So, thank you for being here, for listening, and for allowing this conversation to open something within you. Until next time, this is Teresa Reiniger with Female Voices Life and Loss. Take care of your heart.